This is Mary Humphrey of Mary Humphrey Coaching. Today I'm briefly going to talk about self-confidence. There is basically three forms of self-confidence. There is none, which affects relationships, affects business, it affects work, it affects daily lives. There's also a form of self-confidence where there's too much. This is a person that has a sense of always being right. There's an air of arrogance that surrounds this person, and there's an air of a focus on self. The middle ground of self-confidence is so is entirely common. This middle ground is a person that they generally feel self-confident. They take care of themselves. They do the little things in life that make all of the difference in their daily world. And they have the temporary dips in self-confidence, such as when they're trying something new. A temporary dip in self-confidence happens to most of us. But remember, number one, you can do what you set your mind to doing. I'm going to talk about myself. I'm basically an introvert. I absolutely love people. I will go out and I will talk to strangers, and I coach, and I basically talk to everyone that I meet. I encourage, and then I go home and I say, I'm worn out. I need to regenerate. My home is my castle. Despite the fact that I am an introvert, I know that number one, I can do what I set my mind to doing. I have done this for so many years in my life. And if you don't believe that you too can do what you set your mind to doing, take out a piece of paper today and write down your biggest accomplishments in your life, and carry those accomplishments around with you for up to a week. And when you think of another accomplishment that is not on that list, add to that list. Number two, you are not an expert at everything. Yes, I believe you can do what you set your mind to doing, but unless you have God-given gifts that you were born with, and even with those God-given gifts, nothing is going to come to you so easily that you don't need to take a class, or you don't need to take training, or you don't need to read extensively and study. An expert gets there from a lot of hard work. Number three, we all feel fear at the starting gate. The starting gate. Think about a race. And for some reason, horse races comes to my mind. But think about the competitors at the gate. They aren't really competitors. In the world, in our human world, with self-confidence, some of us don't make it to the starting gate at all, because we feel from step A, which is before we enter the track, before we even walk onto the track, it's too hard to get to that gate that goes onto the track. Then those few steps it takes from the entry gate to the starting gate is so incredibly hard. And there's so much competition, and there's just so many stumbling places for us to fall. And we don't even get to the starting gate. If we can get to that gate and clear the fog and see the clarity that we are so capable of getting there, because we can do what we set our mind to doing, and we're not expected to be an expert at everything. We cannot be failures at all once we're at the starting gate. We cannot become a failure, because there are no failures. There are only learning experiences. if you start a new venture and it doesn't work out the way that you had planned it to work out, look at the wisdom that you have gained. Look at the experience you have gained. Look what you can share with others. 99% of situations that don't work out the way, that optimally work out the way that we want them to, these are not failures. The 1% that we can call failures are the 1% that did not stand back upright on their feet and say, either I can do this or there's something I can do better, and move forward and don't look back. So these are the levels of self-confidence. None, most of the time, too much. You can set your mind to doing what you want to do. You're not an expert at everything. We all feel fear at the starting gate, and there are no failures. And when we need help, we need help. Because when you go to a mentor or a coach, and I'm certainly not trying to sell my services at all, this does not make you a failure. We all need help. We all need each other. I believe if you look at a set of three people, number one, John may be designed to speak. Mary may be designed to write. Susie may be designed to break problems down into tiny little pieces that orchestrate the problems or the plans to work. So John can use Susie's information to write his speech, and Mary can use Susie's information to build her writing and her publishing business. So because you go to someone else when you definitely need help, this has nothing to do with your self-confidence. It helps you do what you set your mind to doing. When you realize you aren't an expert at everything, you realize that we can't do it all alone. And we also realize that we feel fear at the starting gate. And again, the help from others, the mentoring from others, helps to relieve that fear. And also, it provides an accountability to where you make it to that starting gate and you actually burst through it, because there are no failures.